Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Agro Aqua Talk, where we dive into agroforestry, aquaculture, and everything in between. I'm your host, Daryl Watson, and today we're getting into something foundational, Agroforestry 101, the basics and why it matters. If you caught our last episode, you already know we're all about sustainable systems that work with nature, not against it. If you didn't, no worries. You can check it out on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Twitter after this. But today, we're focusing on the big picture of agroforestry, what it is, why it's a game changer, and how you can start thinking about integrating it into your own land. This is one of those topics that can change the way you see farming forever. So buckle up and let's get into it. All right, let's get into why this actually matters though. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is agroforestry? The short answer, it's the integration of trees, crops, and livestock in a way that benefits the entire system. Instead of treating trees like an afterthought or something to clear out, agroforestry makes them a core part of farming. This isn't a new idea. Indigenous communities around the world have been practicing forms of agroforestry for thousands of years. Whether it was the Mayans growing food forests, African farmers integrating and intercropping trees with grains, or Asian farmers planting trees along rice paddies to improve soil health. But somewhere along the way, industrial agriculture decided that trees were a problem. Monoculture farming took over, clear-cutting everything in sight. And now we're dealing with the consequences. Soil erosion, declining biodiversity, and farms that can't survive without heavy inputs of synthetic fertilizers. Here's my first rant of the day. Why did we stop listening to nature? Why do we act like trees don't belong in agriculture? The answer, money. The industrial farming model is about short-term gains, not long-term sustainability. But agroforestry flips that script and shows us how we can farm in a way that's productive and regenerative. All right, let's get into why this actually matters though. Agroforestry isn't just a nice idea. It's a solution to some of the biggest problems in agriculture. Let's break it down. Environmental benefits of agroforestry. It restores degraded land. Trees improve soil structure, reduce erosion, and increase fertility. Agroforestry supports biodiversity, bringing in birds, pollinators, and beneficial insects, such as bees. It sequesters carbon. The trees in agroforestry literally pull CO2 from the air and store it in their biomass and in the soil. Agroforestry's economic benefits include creating multiple income streams. With agroforestry, you're not just growing one crop. You're harvesting timber, fruit, nuts, livestock feed, honey, vegetables, and more. It makes farms more resilient. In agroforestry, if one crop fails, you've got backup sources of income. It reduces input costs. Healthy soils mean less fertilizer, and shade means less irrigation, since your soil will stay moist. And also, in agroforestry, we chop and drop. We cover the soil so it maintains that moisture level. the humidity level that the trees can benefit from. But despite all this, most modern farms aren't doing it. Why? Because the system is built to favor monocultures. Banks give loans for corn and soybeans, not for diversified tree crop systems. Big ag companies sell fertilizers and pesticides, not sustainable solutions. And farmers are told that trees will compete with their crops instead of helping them. I'm here to tell you, that's nonsense. And more farmers are starting to wake up to that fact. Let's talk about the different types of agroforestry so you can see how this works for yourself. Agroforestry isn't just one thing. It's a broad approach with different systems depending on your goals. Let's go through the 5 main types and how they work. Number 1, Silvopasture. This is the combination of trees and livestock. The trees provide shade, improving animal welfare, while their roots stabilize soil and reduce runoff. If you're raising rabbits, cows, goats, or chickens, this is a game changer. Number 2, alley cropping. Imagine rows of trees with crops like corn, beans, or wheat growing in between. The trees protect crops from wind, provide nutrients through falling leaves, and can even be pruned for extra mulch. Number 3, forest farming. This is about growing food and medicinal plants under a tree canopy. Think mushrooms, ginseng, or shade-grown coffee. It mimics natural forests, but makes them productive. Number 4, windbreaks and shelter belts. Rows of trees planted to block strong winds, protect crops, and reduce evaporation, keeping the moisture where it needs to be. If you're in a dry area, this is very crucial. Number 5, riparian buffers. Trees planted along waterways prevent erosion and act as natural wind filters, windbreaks, and water filters, reducing pollution and keeping streams healthy. Why are we still fighting nature instead of working with it? With all these benefits, if farms just integrated one of these techniques, they'd see those massive benefits. But instead, we're still bulldozing trees to plant single crops that drain the soil. We need to make it make sense and do away with this monoculture system and move into a better system of agroforestry. So how do you get started? Start small. Don't try to convert your whole farm overnight. Plant a few trees strategically and observe. Choose the right species. Think about what fits your climate and which you can actually use. Fruit trees, nitrogen fixers, fodder trees for animals. Mimic natural systems. Agroforestry works best when it follows ecological principles instead of forcing trees into unnatural arrangements. And lastly, be patient. Trees take time, but the long-term benefits outweigh the wait. Too many people think agroforestry is too slow to be profitable, but that's the monoculture mindset talking. Nature works on a timeline longer than one growing season. And when you embrace that, your farm becomes stronger, more diverse, and more resilient. All right. I think we covered Agroforestry 101 as best as we could, just to give you a gist of it today. Now, what we covered was what agroforestry is and why it matters, the environmental and economic benefits, the 5 main types of agroforestry, and how to start integrating trees into your farm. If this got you thinking, let me know. Drop a comment, share this episode, and follow for more. Also, send in your questions. Maybe we'll do a deep dive into Silvopasture next time. You can find this episode on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe and share with anyone who needs to hear this. Until next time, farm smarter, not harder.